Previously on 5 Nights of Pokemon. What started off as a fight between friends has unnaturally taken a turn for the worse, and I'm afraid it's not yet over. Ashley Sparks took it upon herself to find her friend Pika Emily, who went missing after Ashley had dared her into going into the abandoned Pokemon diner. And so Ashley started her search there, but instead found a bigger mystery filled with more danger than her 10-year-old mind could have imagined. She was attacked by haunted animatronics, then later found a journal describing the actions of a child killer, Giovanni Afton, and through whatever means, the souls of his victims became imbued in the very metal monsters that were attacking Ashley. She now fears a similar fate had fallen upon her friend. In the midst of all the commotion, Ashley wound up destroying 2 of the animatronics before making her daring escape. Now let's see how her story continues. A few days had passed since Ashley had freed herself, and yet she feels more helpless than ever. Her mother was out of town tending to a sickly relative, and her father was a,
unreliable deadbeat?
Yeah, that. Ashley's list of who to turn to was short, but her list of who would believe such a bizarre story was non-existent. Until she had a fateful encounter with Sheriff Jenny. She found the woman in blue as she was dealing with 2 kids who she caught splattering tasteless graffiti. Ashley then walked up and told the sheriff her story. But midway through, she realized she hadn't planned on what to say. She was then interrupted by laughter from the other kids. The sheriff, on the other hand, was surprisingly convinced. Where she didn't say that she believed Ashley, she did promise to help her. And so the sheriff let the other kids off of a warning and offered Ashley a ride home. The girl jumped into the police car. She was feeling more hope than she had for days. Only, this ride wasn't taking her home. Once she stopped recognizing the route, Ashley called out to the police chief, but there was no answer, just the woman's heavy breathing. Noticing the tense veins along her neck made Ashley very nervous. She then tried to open the car door. Realizing it was locked, a phrase came to mind.
Not again, not again, not again, not again.
She tried opening the window. That was locked also. The phrase, not again, reverberated in her mind like the frantic beating of a drum, until finally they pulled over at the half-built sister location of the Pokemon Diner. It was meant to be the out-of-town expansion, but after what happened in the first one, the owner canceled the project. And yet there it stood, like a cruddy horror sequel. The police chief then flew open the car door and dragged Ashley by her forearm. The girl kicked and screamed, but it was no use. And as they drew closer, Ashley began to taste the potency of the damp building air. The police chief was reaching for the door handle when a flying rock struck the back of her head. She cried out as blood trickled down her neck.
Run for it!
Ashley saw it was one of the kids from earlier. Someone who had laughed at her story was now helping her. Ashley pulled her arm out of the woman's grip, then made a break for it, running as fast as she could. But she barely made it to 10 feet when a blue blur shot out from the distance. It was a half-broken animatronic that looked like some humanoid beetle. It flew over the kids with its mechanical insect wings.
No, son of a...
The beetle shot down like a bullet and snatched the girl mid-sentence. And the boy just stood there, frozen in fear and confusion, as the creature flew in and snatched him in its other claw, taking both children in the air with him, ascending right over the Pokemon Diner. The boy screamed and cried out. Ashley saw they were heading towards an open skylight window. She looked back at the beetle, and in the gaps of its busted body, she noticed its inner workings. Without skipping a beat, Ashley took a chance. She reached her hand inside the beetle's chest and pulled out a fistful of wires. Sparks flew out from its eyes as it short-circuited in midair. And then all 3 of them fell. Ashley and the boy fell through the open window, while the glitching animatronic had crashed into the roof. The children dropped into a dimly lit play area, landing in a rather smelly ball pit. It was rough, but they were fine. Well, for now at least. The boy floundered around the ball pit like some drowning rat. Ashley then slapped her hand over his mouth, gave a quick glance around the room before pulling him out of the ball pit and into a corner somewhere for them to talk. The boy reluctantly introduced himself as Brocco Henry. His parents owned a granite quarry, making quite a bit of money but made very little time for him and his siblings, and so he acted out from time to time. Now, his parents usually work with some shady folks, so he could tell that Sheriff Jenny was lying about something. That's why he followed them on his bike. Ashley then showed him Mitchell Afton's journal, vividly explaining everything. Some of the details made Brocco's jaw drop until finally he asked, "What are we gonna do?" Ashley just sat there, quiet, thinking of how much she struggled to escape, only for her to now literally fall headfirst into a new kind of nightmare. She looked over and saw fear overcoming Brocco's face. She leaned in closer to comfort him, but realized he wasn't looking at her. Ashley looked past her shoulder and saw an animatronic had entered the room, one looking like a blue alligator with red spikes running along its head, shoulders, and back. Ashley yelled, "How the heck did that thing sneak up on us? Did it put its legs on mute?" The gator swung its claw at Ashley, tearing a gash into her t-shirt as she backed away, just missing her stomach. Brocco then threw his backpack at the gator's face, buying him and Ashley just a few seconds to run down the hallway. They took a sharp turn, but went straight into Sheriff Jenny. She shoved Ashley to the floor and grabbed Brocco, holding him in place by his shirt. Ashley had the wind knocked right out of her. She couldn't even pick herself up. The gator then walked up to the girl and raised its foot right over her head. "No!" yelled the police chief. "You know the rules! They belong to him!" Ashley could sense a bit of fear in the woman's tone. The gator, though, let out a metallic growl as it stopped what it was doing. Instead, it grabbed and lifted Ashley by her shoulders. The girl tried fighting back, and the boy tried asking why they were doing this, but they were both carried off into a dark-colored room with shelves stacked to the brim with bits and pieces of animatronics. And in the middle of it all was a large, stained table. Ashley's heart sank to her stomach. They were about to become one of them. Ashley tried kicking the gator as it placed her onto the table, pinning her down by her arms. There was nothing she could do. A zap of electricity knocked the police chief off her feet. The gator turned around, but a metal fist went straight through his chest. It then fell face first, writhing on the floor like some hurt animal. Ashley looked up at her savior, and it was a familiar, yellow, mouse-like animatronic. Brocco stood there frozen, but Ashley walked up to the creature and called out, "Pika?" The vicious electricity flowing through its body suddenly stopped. It then knelt down and hugged her. This was her, Pika Emily, the friend she had lost. Ashley was both delighted and heartbroken at the same time. She tried apologizing, but was crying so hard she couldn't mutter a word. And so Pika simply took her hand and Brocco's and walked them both out of there. As if it would be that easy. There were two animatronics blocking the entrance, one looking like an orange monkey, while the other was a red and white crocodile walking towards them on all fours. Pika let go of the kids and then tackled into the animatronics with God knows how many volts of electricity she zapped into them. Their bodies burst into flames, but even that wasn't killing them. The gator chomped down onto Pika's legs, dragging her across the floor, but she grabbed the monkey by its foot, pulling it along with her. Brocco grabbed Ashley's hand and basically forced her to run the other way, only for them to run into 4 or 5 more animatronics. Except, these ones weren't attacking. They weren't even looking at them. Their mechanical eyes were fixated on Pika fighting desperately against the other two. And that gave Ashley an idea.
You shouldn't have to do what they say out of fear. You shouldn't have to stay here scared. Look at her. She's fighting back, which means you can too.
She droned on for a moment until two of them stepped forth. One looked like a black and blue werewolf, and the other was like a blend of a shark and a torpedo. It moved about on this hydraulic arm. They both stared down at the girl for a minute, who stood her ground with a strong yet encouraging look on her face. They then looked back at the flaming animatronics and went after them. The shark bit into the crocodile's side and slammed its body against the wall. The crocodile then dropped Pika and slashed its claw against the shark, tearing away a huge piece of it. The monkey then lunged for Pika, only to be tackled in midair by the blue wolf thing. This was now a full-on battle with no rules other than survive. The wolf was fighting with the monkey, with blue streaks of electricity emanating from his speeding fists. Meanwhile, Pika leapt onto the crocodile's head, forcing its mouth shut, allowing the shark to get behind it and bite down on its tail. They both pulled in opposite directions. They pulled and pulled until the croc was ripped in half. The monkey jabbed its elbow into the wolf's stomach, hitting him so hard they both smashed through a wall. The wolf tumbled in debris. The monkey then tried to stomp on its head, but it rolled to the side and, for whatever reason, blue fire and electricity ignited in the wolf's palm. It then struck the monkey in its chest, sending it flying across the room. Before it could hit the ground, the shark swooped in and caught the monkey in its jaws. And it began crunching down on its body till there was nothing left but scrap metal. Bronco called out, "We won!" But then, something dragged the shark into the middle of the room. Some invisible force was ripping its body bit by bit. Ashley looked over to the other animatronics, and she could tell they were terrified. And from behind them, a shadowy figure emerged.
I told you, I always come back.
Now, that big battle scene at the end, that wasn't part of my original plan. Honestly, I was just gonna go for 3 character designs, but I lost the recording for my FNAF Trevenant right here, where I was pretty bummed out about that. It had pushed me to go bigger and better, so yeah. And if you enjoyed this, then like, subscribe, and suggest whatever Pokemon you want to see as a haunted animatronic. You can go Mega Evolution and Gigantamax. And while you're at it, maybe check out FNAF Deviant Reacts right here. Or there's horror icons as kaijus right here. And don't forget to have a nice day.